Hello and welcome to the Velveteen Lounge Kitchen, coming to you from the Waitiki room.
Hiya, folks.
We're each going to make a classic drink from a Trader Vic's book, and then after we're done making our drinks, we will adjourn over to our seating area in the Waitiki room and talk about some of our favorite records to listen to while we're sitting out here.
Yes.
So I think you're ready to go first with your drink. What do you have for us today?
Go for us today. I've chosen something from Trader Vic's Book of Food and Drink. I believe this is the first volume that Vic Bergeron published, and does feature, as it says, a lot of food recipes and a number of drink recipes. More drinks than you would think. And then a year later, he came out with another book, which I think you're about to feature. But we'll hold on to that for a second. I actually chose the Queen's Park Swizzle. I didn't think I've ever made this live before. I'm not sure I've made this period, but it's a really simple thing that's actually quite nice.
I don't think we have.
Yeah, and it's a classic. It is coming from the, let's see what they're actually saying here, the Queen's Park Hotel in Trinidad. And it says, one that has helped to popularize rum. Well, as if you needed to popularize rum, but back in that
Popular around here.
popular around these parts. Back in that era, it probably hadn't quite hit those heights it was about to. Vic and Don were the two guys who really helped push it over the top. This starts with, you squeeze half a lime, throw the shell in, add sprigs of mint. Just happened to cut these recently myself. I recommend having mint in your garden. This is going to be the fun part, where you got a bunch of shaved ice in there.
You still got the space in the bottom.
Still have the space where the lime was. Following instructions. Maybe I'll modify that the next time. But we're rolling, folks, so here we go. 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice. That's fresh squeezed from that lime shell you just saw. 3/4 ounce simple syrup. If your lime gave you more like half an ounce of lime juice, I would say just use half an ounce of the syrup. 3 ounces of dark Demerara rum.
Woo.
Well, low.
Well, look at that.
So it's going to be a big one, eh? And then you take your swizzle stick and you swizzle. It says swizzle until the glass frosts. Not sure that's going to happen out here, but we'll certainly give it a working over anyway.
Sort of frosting. Oh, and look at us pushing the lime down into the glass.
Burble, burble, burble. That's fun. Special effects. I'm going to leave that guy in there, and there is your Queen's Park Swizzle. I should have brought a straw. Delicious nonetheless.
That's a good one. My turn?
Your turn for the drinks.
I am making one from Bartender's Guide by Trader Vic, 1947. And I am making what they're calling the Trader Vic's daiquiri. I am doubling mine. Ordinarily, it would call for, well, we start with some ice in our blender, and interestingly, it calls for a Waring blender. And I happen to have a Waring blender right here.
Guess what? It's actually a Waring, folks.
I'm staying true to the Trader's vision. Okay.
And by the way, if you're operating your bar and you need crushed ice, definitely recommend getting an electric ice crusher. Makes your life a lot easier.
You would start with 1.5 ounces of Puerto Rican rum if you were doing one drink, but I'm doing 2, so I have 3 ounces.
Well, I guess we're both on big ones to start with.
You would use 1/2 ounce of maraschino. No, 1/4 ounce maraschino. I've got 1/2 ounce.
Yep.
1/2 teaspoon of powdered sugar. Well, it said sugar, but it's better to use powdered.
If you're using sugar, you're going to incorporate it much better if it's very super fine sugar.
It would be 1/2 teaspoon if you were making a single drink.
You can certainly use the sugar syrup as well, and that will blend instantly.
3/4 of an ounce fresh lime juice. I think I want a little bit more ice. And I'm going to blend in our Waring blender. Oh, I didn't plug it in.
No, it's plugged in.
Oh, it's plugged in. All right, never mind. I want a lot of froth.
There you go.
There we go. And then a chilled champagne glass. I happen to have one chilling in that refrigerator right there. If you would grab it
retrieve
for
that
me,
for you.
please. I'm glad you plugged this in. I forgot.
I have your back.
Let me put this on your plate.
Please.
All right. A little crowded back here.
It gets that way. Oh, nice and frozen and frothy.
Look at that.
It's a beautiful thing.
I like a big froth. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Lots of
Perfect
bubbles.
on a summer's day. Or a winter's day.
Oh,
Thank you.
I would probably take that any time of the year.
All right. The Trader Vic's Daiquiri from 1947's Bartender's Guide by Trader Vic.
And the Queen's Park Swizzle from the Trader Vic's Book of Food and Drink from 1946.
What do you think? Is it time to go over and talk about records?
Let's do so.
We'll see you over there. Welcome back to the Velveteen room, where we have some of our favorite records to listen to while we're out here. I should mention that right now we're listening to The Clams, The Clam Before the Storm, which you'll see in just a minute. But thank you to Dano and The Clams for scoring our episode.
Yay!
Yay! Anyway, what do we have on deck first?
Well, I always like to start out a whole display of the audio selections with everyone's favorite, Mai Tai Time. This is just one of those records that you're like, you see it in a store and you buy it.
Because it's called Mai Tai
It's called Mai Tai Time. And then you play it and you go, you know, it's not that great a record. It's kind of like a middle tempo, sort of an organ record with some hapa holly on it. But it's called Mai Tai Time. And of course, you know, Eddie London is organ and quartet. You never look better as on this cover, I got to tell you. And of course, there's a great picture of a Mai Tai in the back.
There's a picture of
here.
Mai Tai. It has a cherry, but it's in the appropriate glass.
You know, I've seen Mai Tais with cherries. As long as you have the rest of the ingredients right, you're perfectly fine. So perfect. I personally recommend picking up a copy of this record if you do find it. It is the first.
Or just the cover.
Or just the cover.
And frame it.
If you only find the cover, that's fine too. First record released on the Tower label, later home to such groups as Pink Floyd. Oh boy, I'm a record collector. So, how about what we're listening to right now?
The Clams.
Clam Before the Storm. Oh, this is just a contemporary classic released by them, I believe, 2 years ago on LP because the cover was just so good, it had to be large.
By Fred Rawls of Ninth Wave.
Of Ninth Wave. It's just a fantastic little piece. And you have 11 selections here arranged into two groups, Dance Party and Cocktail Party. 11 originals. The Cocktail Party is actually very laid back, and the Dance Party is very up-tempo. Fantastic bit. Sounds fabulous on your turntable. Get your copy today, link below. Next up, how about another contemporary classic from our buddies in Waitiki?
Yay!
Rendezvous in Okonkoluku was released on CD and LP in 2007. This is one of the first of the contemporary sort of exotica bits, one of the new pieces that we had heard. We saw them live, and then we bought the record. And I say this is a great sounding record, really fantastic. It has their lineup from that period of time, and it's got, let's see here, 9 selections, some covers and some originals, just great solos all throughout, very lush sound. You will play it, you'll love it.
You will play it, you will love it. You will play it?
You want to play it? I can't say nothing else. So, but anyway, but we've seen Waitiki at this point now. Oh, geez, easily a dozen times.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just sometimes it's a small
Always
combo.
a treat.
Sometimes it's a larger combo. And in the very first Ohana Luau at the lake, it was the expanded Waitiki, Waitiki 7, which was absolutely
So
phenomenal. That exists on video somewhere. I wonder who took video of that. So, next up, something that needs to be in your collection because you know you love it. How about the ultimate surfing movie, The Endless Summer?
Oh my gosh.
That
is a desert island record for me.
Seriously, you know, if you had 10 records, if you had 2 records, if you had 1 record maybe, I don't know, you'd probably say, yeah, this.
Now, if I had 1 record, it would be Camp Roosevelt. Then.
Oh, well, there's always But we're talking about what plays out in the room, which what tends to be a mix of exotica, hapa haole, genuine Hawaiian hits, and hi-fi spectaculars, that kind of thing. And we're going to get to more of that in a second. We have all of that down here Basically, it's stuff that makes your hi-fi sound good. We have a great system out here. We have a great system in there. And we play records out here while enjoying a few of these lovely libations. I would be wrangling mine, except I'm wrangling records. So, this is the Sandals. They appear to have been formed to make this record. The Endless Summer was filmed by Bruce Brown and his crew of 2 surfers around the world around 1963-64, I believe. And then I think it was shopped around for a few years, and he would basically just get out there and do the narration while the movie played. There was no actual dialogue in this because it was too expensive.
If you haven't seen the movie, it's on Amazon Prime. It's on one of the services, and if you haven't seen it, run, don't walk.
Run.
To watch it.
Run, don't walk. These guys are in search of the perfect wave around the world in various locations, and they find it in South Africa. And it is absolutely astonishing. Fantastic sights. Some of it is a little dated. Don't worry about it. The rest of it is very cool. And frankly, you can get out there with your own stick, I mean your surfboard, and surf those same waves. So heck, travel the
some
world.
people call their bar the stick too. Like, I'm going to get behind the stick.
Behind the stick.
And they mean the bar.
Well,
so I'm just thinking of surfing on your bar.
Yeah, maybe you need to actually get yourself a secondhand surfboard and make that your bar top, and you'll be behind the double stick.
There you go.
Hang 10, dudes. Next up, how about a little less Baxter? One of the giants who actually...
Baxter.
A little more or less Baxter. One of the giants who actually helped to create this whole thing that we call Exotica. He was a movie guy. He did some fantastic scores, things like Black Sunday, The Barbarian, that sort of thing. You want to check this guy out if you haven't checked this guy out by now. And he recorded several albums of mood music for Capitol Records. Some of them are very laid back, and some of them are a little more spicy, like this guy. Freight Reports of Pleasure. This is 1959, 1960, I believe. And it's another great sound spectacular. I can definitely recommend that. This has what looks like about 12 tracks, which are all names like Shanghai Rickshaw, Hong Kong Cable Car, Monkey Dance of Bali, Harem Silks from Bombay. It's all supposed to take you around the world. Sidewalk Cafes of Saigon, when Saigon is the Paris of the Southeast.
So many, any Les Baxter album of this nature, you could put on in your tiki room, and it would be perfect.
Sometimes it's more movie music, sometimes it's a little more exotic.
Still perfect.
Sometimes it's just very lush strings. It's just a great arrangement.
Yep.
Absolutely fantastic. And check out that cover art. Jeez, you'd buy this because of the cover,
Exactly.
which is what people did at the time. Also shows off your hi-fi very well.
Ooh, one of my favorites.
Oh, Hawaiian Swing, Verna Muller. I'm going to get this square, actually. There we go. It's still not right. There we go. Yep.
The struggle.
The struggle is actual. If you're thinking to yourself, okay, German composer, conductor, doing sort of Hapa stuff, how the hell is that supposed to work out? You know, he just followed the charts. He made it work. It's actually a great record. There's fantastic selections, fantastic sound, great cover. It's if you're taking a look at that big 4 described on here, the big 4 on the top there, that's Phase 4 stereo from London Records. It's English Decca, and they just came up with like their latest spectacular process. And again, it makes your hi-fi sound great.
I will always reach for that record. I'm like, what should I put on? That's just always right.
They're really great arrangements. You have to hear the version of the theme from Hawaiian High.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I can't describe it. Just hear it. Easily found. How about one of the other giants of the genre, Mr. Denny? This is, I believe, his 4th or 5th album in a series of albums that just defined the whole thing. He took a couple of Les Baxter arrangements and made it into a genre. This was the thing that launched everything. His original vibe player was Arthur Lyman, who said, I'm going to form my own band. And then he went and made like his own 20 records worth of this stuff. Absolutely unbelievable. And of course, you've got the fantastic Sandy Warner on the cover there of all of these things. It was like, hubba hubba, that's why you bought these records, right? Also,
well, not me, but
not me
but you, possibly.
But great sonics. Liberty Records did a great job with this in terms of what the recording studios. Also, makes your hi-fi happy.
I bought it because I would buy anything that said Martin Denny.
Yeah, pretty much. I've not been disappointed yet.
Although he doesn't have a disco album.
Yeah, he didn't get quite that far. He
Unlike
actually,
Percy Faith.
He just retreated to the Big Island and just performed for the next like 30 years. Mm-hmm. And
Because I would have bought that.
Doing what he was doing.
I would have bought that disco album.
I've heard of people seeing him in like 80s, 90s, and they were like, oh wow, that was great.
Man.
Things you'd like to do. How about some contemporary, how probably sounds from Slowing the Boats?
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic release on High Tide Records. Some of our buddies. This is great. This is about 11 selections, I think. And they're all kind of classics. They got a fantastic singer. They have a really laid-back style. It really, and the recording sounds like they're using vintage equipment. It's just got that tone to it.
You know, our friend bought this record because he was asking, I think he bought it at Ohana, and he was asking for something that would be great to listen to on a laid-back Sunday morning. And this was what was recommended to him, and I couldn't have put it better.
I think we heard it at his place.
On a Sunday morning.
On a Sunday morning,
Yep.
and it was pretty laid
Yep.
back. And there were a few drinks, and there was breakfast, and it was just fantastic. Got to say, if you get a chance to see these folks, they really deliver that sound well. So, how about some more High Tide
Speaking of
from
High Tide,
the Major Domo of High Tide, the Black Flamingos with the Neon Boneyard. This is a fantastic release from, I believe, 2018. It's 2017, it says.
okay,
11 tracks.
I'll trust what it says.
Some absolutely fantastic original material, a couple of covers in there, I believe. The Neon Boneyard, I believe, refers to where all of the neon goes to reside in Las Vegas once places are torn down, which is, it sounds terrible, but it's all in one place, and I think somebody's electrified it. So you could actually go and see this. We've been there. It's really fabulous to see that much in the way of sort of garish history going on. And these guys are familiar with such things, and they have a lot of fun with it. Great trio, fantastic instrumentalists. They just kick it out of the park. Great sound on this little guy. And of course, again, available on record. This was just a few years old. You can buy it today.
These have all been records.
These have
so
all been
far.
records so far. But check out the whole High Tide catalog. Absolutely recommended. There's some really great bands on
Definitely.
there. How about a little something from back in the day? More vintage. Enchanted Island. I think we're finally name checking the Longines Symphonette here. Longines was a watch company. They started sponsoring a radio show in the 1930s. That radio show featured their orchestra with 1,000,000 strings because that apparently sounded good on tiny little AM radios. And then eventually they started cutting records. And in the 60s and 70s, they sold this stuff by mail order and sold a huge volume of these.
It's like the Longines Symphonette that doesn't rest.
It doesn't rest. That's the thing. And by the time they get to the 70s, they're still at it. They're still doing it. They're still on the back of the record touting like the whole process to make their records, blah, blah, blah. It's incredible. They even have Montavani, their musical director, saying, I'll buy nothing else. Absolutely amazing. Really kind of great sound. It's a really fun selection of sort of Hawaiian up contemporary hits.
Feather on it.
Oh, okay. Well,
Got it.
got it. So, not exactly. It's just sort of a selection of contemporary hits at the time. Things like "What Have They Done to My Song Ma" and
What have they done to my soul?
"Cracklin' Rose" and that kind of thing. And if you take a look very carefully in the corner, there's a little symbol that says QS. This is a quadraphonic record. Had to throw one of those in there.
Well, he's not Captain Quad for nothing.
For nothing there, folks. You know, play this, find this. Shouldn't be that hard to find. Play this on your Dolby surround system. Sounds great. Decodes properly. You'll have a lot of fun with it. And how about other formats? We like to play all sorts of formats around the lounge. How about tape? Oh, I love tape.
And you know which tape he's talking about? Open reel.
The big reels. You know, these things are great.
Big reels keep on turning.
This was recorded released in 1960, and we play it regularly, and it still sounds fantastic. This is a little smaller. I have to make it closer to you. This is the soundtrack to Mr. Lucky, the TV show. The second Blake Edwards TV show to feature a soundtrack that was really sort of groundbreaking, and he again got Henry Mancini to grab this. This was a show that was about the guy who owned a gambling ship. Wow, sounds like a lot of fun. If you can catch it, if you can. I don't think we've ever seen a Mr. Lucky.
I don't think so.
But the main title is a real classic. The whole album is just lush and great, and you just put it on, you're like, oh, it's cocktail hour. It's cocktail hour because it's Mr. Lucky, because it's Blake Edwards, because it's Henry Mancini. Mix up one of these.
They were very intertwined, though,
Two of
Blake
those.
Edwards and Henry Mancini.
Oh, they made many, many things together. and I can't really name a score that I wouldn't recommend. They're all good. Absolutely. So there's a few records for you, and a tape. You know, if you don't have a tape player, you can find them pretty easily. They're out there.
I'm sure Paul would be happy to help you figure that out if you were interested.
Just
send us a message.
Let us know.
So that's it from the Velveteen room. Thank you for visiting the Velveteen Lounge Kitchen. We will be back tomorrow, Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern with a live happy hour. But in the meantime, we will
see you soon.
Bye.